Hey guys, what's up? It is Drew here from MechaWorks, back in the garage, and today going over, I thought about this morning. I've been getting a lot of questions about this over the last couple of weeks, and most of it is, how are you preparing your E30 for the S62? And honestly, the biggest thing is reinforcement, and I think it's very critical on these cars, especially when you have a V8 that makes a lot more torque than what the M20 does. So that's what this video is going to be about. And yeah, so let's get to that.
Now turn up.
Any of you guys Rick and Morty fans? I found this shirt in Michigan and I absolutely love it. And I could not pass it up. I think it's the coolest shirt ever. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. Alright guys, the purpose of this video pretty much is, we all know the M20, makes about 180 horsepower, new, and about 170-ish, 160-ish pound-feet of torque, which for the E30 is pretty fair. I love the M20 in these cars. I like to go fast. So the cars themselves, like the frames themselves, are actually built quite well to handle some power. But if you really want that peace of mind at night, anything, when you swap the M50s, M52s, M54s, S50, S52s, most of the time the S54s, you can get away without really reinforcing a whole lot of stuff. The white car over there with the S54, that has reinforcement, just so I could sleep at night. And but where these cars really have their weak points, when you get into like the turbo cars, if you're making 400 plus horsepower or 400 plus pound-feet of torque, or you have a V8 going in, you're gonna need reinforcement. These cars just bend subframes, and subframes are where they are the weakest. The good thing is that there are some companies out there, if you can't do the stuff yourself, that will definitely make it for you, and have it pretty readily available. And that's what I have here. I have the front subframe from Garagistic, and then the rear trailing arms from Garagistic. So I will show you that in detail and where to reinforce your stuff. All right, guys, so here's the front subframe for this build. And I originally have the subframe. I welded it myself. If you want to see the brakes, go through my video list. You'll see the video for the brakes. Really cool. Shameless plug. But I originally did the subframe for this car. I welded everything myself and all that, and I just wasn't really too happy with it because I am by no means a professional welder. So this is the subframe that I'm going to be using, and it's pretty. It's red. So, and if you guys haven't noticed, everything's different colors. So my shocks are yellow. There's my shocks there. My shocks are yellow. I got purple, red, green, gold, cool stuff. So, as you can tell, I'm completely easily distracted today. So with the front subframe, these cars are pretty stout for the straight sixes, but when you get into the V8s, you start getting a lot of bending in through this section. For the top side, you just have the Swaysbar reinforcement plates. That's about it as far as the top side goes. The bottom side, is where you have the reinforcements. So the most critical one is going to be your control arm brace or control arm plate right here. I see a lot of subframes bend right here with V8s. So that is why this section is reinforced primarily. You also have another plate right here, which likes to crack and separate at the motor mount. So that's why these are reinforced on each side. And that's really about it for this front subframe. They twist in this section and they knock the car out of alignment because of the control arm being right here. So it kind of cocks everything to the side. But other than that, that's really about it for the front. All right, so in the engine bay itself, you can reinforce this area here that runs across. This is the front tower brace. For the convertible models, I can't talk today. The convertible models came with it from the factory that runs from the tower to the fender side here. And you can totally do that if you can't run a tower brace or a strut tower brace from across the top here. I'm not sure which one's better, to be honest. I really don't think there is a way or there is a better one to go with. If you can do both, like for you drifty guys that really like to have stiff chassis, maybe that's, you know, to have both across there. But to be honest, your primary focus is to keep these towers perfectly in line and not flexing in or out under bumps or steering, or, you know, loaded corners or anything like that. So let's get to the rear. All right, so your rear is really where your meat and potatoes really lie. All right, that was a very interesting bark. So the rear is pretty much where all of your meat and potatoes lie. So I'm gonna take you bit by bit. Let's work from left to right. So what's this popped up? There we go. So pretty much here's how this works. If you guys don't know what this is, go see this video here. It's for the brakes to get the 135i calipers on. But I am running a Z4 hub, which is kind of rusted because they've been on here forever. So anyway, the rear trailing arm is one of the most critical parts because this section here likes to bend under load. So what they did, this is from Garagistic, they welded the plates here on the bottom that runs all the way back here. And what that does is pretty much mimics the Z3M arms, which are ungodly expensive nowadays. I've seen some on eBay for like $1,500 per side, which I think is ridiculous. And then they put this gusset piece here on the back, and that's to keep the shock in line with everything. Pretty much keep all of the suspension in line with itself. Everything is, you know, tracking the way it should. And then also they put the reinforcement plates here for the rear sway bar, which is under load is very critical because these are very prone to break or crack off. One of the things that I have not mentioned yet is the word that every E30 owner hates, and that is rust. Rust will always make it worse. So if you have rust on your car and you have rust on your suspension components, whether it be the control arms, the trailing arms, the rear subframe, the front subframe, shit will break. You add power like an S62 or anything over really 350 horsepower on a rusty frame or rusty suspension components, you're going to break something. It's just a matter of time. So this is actually stuck on here. This is my ground control spring perch is stuck. I think the powder coating is making that stick. So anyway, moving on here, we have the rear trailing arm mount reinforcements. These are on each side. And before you say anything, yes, I know what you're gonna say. You welded them wrong. No, I did not. I welded them like this for a reason. So these are non-adjustable. I did not get the eccentric bolts. There's just no, I don't have a need for them. With the S54 car, everything is in perfect alignment without them, with a 17-inch wheel. And the camber is correct, the toe is correct, so the thrust angle is dead on. I don't eat tires. The car sits exactly where it needs to, and I think the rear camber on that car sits at like negative 2.5 degrees, so it's exactly where it needs to be, and it handles fantastically because I don't need to adjust it. So I can't stand seeing those E30s with, you know, negative 5 degrees camber. It's just ridiculous, and then you go through tires every 500 miles. Enough ranting. So then here on the front, we have the plates here to stop it from rocking back and forth. And then on the differential mount, we have the plates here and the plates across the top. Normally I see these crack from the mount holes here to this hole here. One side will do it. So it'll run, the crack will start here and it will run its way all the way down here from either side. I have not seen it do both before. It's just always one or the other, but that's where it happens. And then the meat and potatoes of this is going to be the Z3M cover, which is by no means reinforcement. This is for cooling only because this rear differential is going to be doing some work. This is a 293 LSD, but is the secondary rear differential mount. So pretty much BMW after the E30 went to a dual ear mount to share the load, because when this thing turns to the side, it puts a lot of tension and pressure on that differential bushing. So you can spread the load with a secondary mount, and it helps out tremendously. So that's really about it. Okay, forgive the messy trunk, but this is where I'm storing a lot of stuff for the time being. I'm also running a rear cross brace at the same time, rear strut tower brace, and then the plates have been welded in back here to stop the shocks from punching through the sheet metal. So it's all reinforced back here. It's gonna be pretty stiff, and then I have those massive sway bars on the front and rear. There they are there. You can get a glimpse of that on the rear subframe video. It looks like this here. And you can get a nice close-up of everything under here. So yeah, that's really about it for the rear, I'd say. All right, guys, so we all know that God's Chariot does have its flaws, and that is with the subframes. When you're making more than, I'd say, about 350 to 400 horsepower in torque, things get a little bendy. So if it's rusty, replace it. Just don't even try to fix it. Just replace the subframes. As far as frame rust goes, you're on your own on that one. I don't really have any insight on that except for just to cut it out and try to weld in some plates. But take it to a professional body shop for that one. So like I said, if you want to make some serious horsepower with these cars, you need some serious reinforcement, especially if you want to sleep at night. The S54 car, the white one over there, is only making, with the tune, I'd say about 350-ish at the crank. Definitely not getting that at the wheels. But it does help me sleep at night knowing that I can slide it around corners or whatever and not worry about bending anything. So if you guys want to follow the S62 build, here is my Instagram, and I post way more about it on my Snapchat for some reason. I don't know why, but that's just how it is. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, put them down in the comment section. I'll get to them as soon as possible. And if you guys want to talk anything out about your builds, you can find me on Instagram and Snapchat. But other than that, guys, I just like choked. Remember to have a good weekend, and always remember to do awesome, be awesome, and stay awesome. You guys are great. I'll see you next time. Have a good weekend.